I thought maybe we could just start, if any of the audience has any questions for the artists or about the exhibition, or as opposed to kind of me just trying to continue moderating what the artists are trying to say, if you guys have any questions or.
Did you, Ms. Gant, send them, was anybody here familiar with that piece, Ain't I a Woman, prior to your invitation to this exhibition? Yes. Other than you. Other than you, and I'm from Philadelphia, we'll talk about it. Yes, I wanted to know whether they received any kind of, in your perspective, a piece from that Ain't I a Woman.
I didn't actually send that to them, and that was only because I had given them so many parameters that I was like, if I give them another one, they just won't. I was worried they just were like, we're not going to be in your show.
I'm glad.
They're like, we're just going to say no. I mean, the main, and then also with the poetry component of it, that was actually more, just kind of more for inspiration. I've just been very fascinated by the way the written word and language and visual art have a relationship, because I feel that personally as an art historian, when I write about art, I'm confined by art terminology. I have to use that, and people in the field expect to see that, even though I find that the terms that are readily accepted are very problematic. And I have a hard time using them, and if you don't want to use them, you have to try and make up a word. You know, like what was it? So I was at a conference and they were saying everything. So the new art word now is creolize. Yes. That's like this new word that every paper had in this essay. And I was like, so we're using Creole as an adjective, like an adverb now? Like I was like, wait. So it's kind of like, so you almost have to keep just inventing terms to try and get across what you want to say if you can't find, if the terms don't already exist, which is language anyway. But so, and with that, I feel that a lot of times the artist and art historian are very separate. There's not, there's no kind of real communication. And so that kind of got me thinking about that idea. And so again, that kind of just tied into the artist creating visual art, me kind of trying to analyze it, being limited by what I wanted to say. So that was kind of a very abstract way of me wanting to say, okay, well, let me have the artists kind of also try to use language and kind of see what they came up with. But because all the artists have their own backgrounds and their own histories, I wanted to again kind of give them some sort of parameters as well. So that's why I used the African poetry, because when I came across it, I was like, wow, like I'd never heard of this book before. I never heard of any of the poets in this book, and that I thought was just extremely, bad that I didn't know about this. So I figured at least this way, these artists kind of knew of another artist who just used the written form versus the visual, even though the language and the visual are so intimately tied.
Actually, I'm complimenting you. I'm glad you did
Thank
mention them. And also, another comment in reference to the poetry, as I brought out, that you gave me the indigenous language instead of that translation.
Mm-hmm.
So we could deal with that.
Yeah.
I heard what you said, you're completely correct. What's happening in Martinique? New York is a place where you're kind of art. I looked at it back there.
Yeah.
I saw what you were doing. And I guess Lost Wax. Oh, that's
The Lost
our show,
Wax.
so we'll talk about that too. So I enjoyed that. The exhibition has a lot of dimensions and components to it.
It
It
does.
allows the artist to be thinking a wider range than just a video. So
That
that's
sometimes
a
makes things
good
more
part.
complicated for us.
Yeah, that's a good part, so I compliment you for that. And I'll be quiet.
Yeah. Girls have any questions, comments on top of this? Don't everyone talk at once now. Yes.
My question is for Eric. You mentioned that this exhibit kind of posed challenges for you as a video designer. Poses some challenge. And so I'm wondering, as the only non-black female on the panel, and given that the exhibit tried to emphasize the interiority of a black woman, did that in itself, as a black man, did that create another challenge for you when trying to engage with the theme, or did you find that it didn't matter at all?
No, it mattered. I mean, it's impossible that mattered. I think, yeah, I found that important, you know, and I didn't want to be cheap with the idea either, you know. I mean, you know, when you've been painting as long as I've been painting, and some of us have been creating art, you know how to do things on the cheap. You know, somebody comes up with a theme again, it can be music or sailboats. And if you want to quickly get the show because, oh my God, I haven't had a show in 6 months, a year, they're going to forget me, right? You know, you quickly draw up something and get it out. I've never been able to do that, for good or bad. I'm not patting myself on the back, I just haven't been able to. It might just be a big ego thing, I don't know, but I just haven't been able to do it. I usually have to kind of believe in what I'm doing. And I did believe in this, and I respected it, and I thought that I knew the challenge, and I really didn't until I was finished the piece. As for the thing about not being a black woman, obviously I'm not, but I mean, you know, I mean, my mother was a black woman, so we can start talking about individual instances, and that's what I mean kind of on the cheap, because this was a conversation that I found myself having with a lot of friends, whether they were artists or not, but especially those who are artists. I remember being at a party with a particular artist who's African, an African female, black African female painter, and we were talking, and she goes, "Oh, but I mean, you know, but why don't you just take one African American or African woman that you know and idealize it?" And that's it. And I thought, you know, this is why my work is not like yours. You know? We can't work like this. I mean, I can't work like this. I mean, am I supposed to take like every black woman I've known and a knee here and an ear there and put the thing together? It wouldn't have done justice to the idea. The idea is larger and more complex than that. So that's why I had to break it down to the ideas, because if you get rid of the physical, a lot of it is the idea now. And what is that idea? And, I mean, if you just take each of those words, you know, you can go very far with that. So there it is. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did.